Hey everyone, welcome to the last positions video, and it's where all of us want to get to. It's the forwards. It's the players that are going to be banging the balls in the back of the net. And so that's what makes generally this video the most exciting, and obviously why I saved the best for last. Thanks again for everyone that's been subscribing. A couple people have been commenting, and we're getting a bit of discussion. Shout out to Eric, who I've had a little bit of discussion with about some of the midfielders and such like that. It's what makes kind of a channel like this fun, is just bouncing ideas off one another. This is a fantasy community, so let's keep all working together, and I'm happy to share my ideas. I'm more than happy to listen to yours and converse about that. So here we're going to be talking about the forwards. Some of these price brackets are kind of large just based on how some of the players are priced and some of the interest that I have in them. So there's some big gaps, so I'm taking the premiums. You'll find 10.5 or above, even a 9 or 10 sometimes it can be considered a premium option. I just wasn't as interested in some of the players in there, and then I would have had way too many premiums that I'd be kind of pointing out. Obviously, you can only have three, and probably not all three of them are going to be premium strikers that you're going to be having. But without further ado, let's take a look. So for the cheap options, I'm looking at 4.5 to 6.5. Some people might not consider a 6.5 option cheap, but as far as getting a couple more players into the bracket, this is how I have priced it. First one we're going to look at the very top of this price bracket is 6.5 Andrea Piemonte. Starting striker for Empoli, did score quite a few goals last year for Empoli. Not a team that necessarily goes out and scores a lot of goals, but generally he's involved when they do. Part of a two-striker system, so often either the one scoring or the one setting up. And they, like I've said many times about Empoli so far, as far as one of the weaker clubs, they do have good fixtures coming up. So if you do need a weaker striker option to start off the season, getting the striker from Empoli, probably an okay option. Um, as far as the lower caliber strikers in Serie A, I wasn't a huge fan of some of the weaker ones in my current draft, which I'll probably try to post tomorrow or maybe the next day. Is I have three strikers. Lowest one is 7 million. So I have put a lot of money into my attack. I did find the midfield. I was able to get a decent number of quality players for a lower price tag. So that's why I was able to spend a little higher up. And I always go with the cheaper goalies, a 4.5 starter and just a benched goalie. So that's what's allowing me to put the money up into the attack, as I'm not that interested in a lot of the attackers lower, and I do want playing people in the outfield. The second one, probably not a hugely interesting pick, but if you really need to save money on a starting striker, actually, this is kind of an older picker of Bonazzoli. He's on Salernitana. I just like the picture better. But he was on penalties. He's the starting striker for Salernitana. They have good fixtures to start out, so you might nick a goal where, I mean, in 5 games, Salernitana might get a penalty or two. They might score a goal even if they're not winning, and at 6 million, you can just bench him if needed. So just an idea for a lower price striker that will be seeing time in Serie A, barring any transfers in that Salernitana makes. Okay, the next bracket is going to go from 7 to 10. So this is a bit of a big bracket. I do have one striker in this price bracket right now, and it is this man right here, Luka Jovic, transferred in from Fiorentina to Fiorentina from Real Madrid this past year. He did well on Real Madrid. I have seen he's already scored a couple. I don't know if it's just one or a couple goals in preseason. Um, and if you're another striking option is Cabral, who is 6 million. If you think that he will retain that position, then absolutely he could be a great option. But I do think that Jovic is being taken in to take a starting striker role in the Fiorentina team. 7 million on a decent club team. It's not that they have great fixtures start out, it is okay. But I do think that he will be a good striker, good impact into Serie A and for Fiorentina. They aren't they're normally a club that brings some great players and builds them from before they're established. Here is a relatively established striker in the European footballing world that is now trying to make his mark in Serie A, and I do think that he will do a good job of that. Maybe not as good as Vlahovic when he was with Fiorentina, but I'd say somewhere just under that kind of category, and I think 7 million is a great price to go. Two more in this price bracket, which is why I made it hit the 10 million ceiling, is either Luis Muriel or Duvan Zapata. These are two peas in a pod over at Atalanta. They're both deadly. It's hard to tell which one is going to be scoring the goals, which one will be getting the assists, but honestly, they're both normally doing both of it. They obviously, I've said many times, Atalanta has great fixtures to start out the campaign, and these are proven players in Serie A. They've both have a lot of Serie A experience, and while they can be injury prone sometimes, they're both normally contributing at some point in the season. And if one of them does get injured, it's an easy swap to the other one if you don't already have both, or to another striker around this price point, as long as maybe you can find 0.5 mil somewhere else. There's a couple good 10.5 strikers that are going to be in our next price bracket as well. So I do think both of these are really good options, especially at the start of the season. Just got to make sure they're starting, but I don't think Atalanta has any other strikers that are looking to get a slot in the starting role right away. And going to our big premium options for strikers and forwards right now, and it's going to be Mr. Serie A himself. Basically, he's been the king of Serie A for the last while. While I find that he has absolutely been atrocious for the Italian national team the last couple of years, despite the Euro win, he has been amazing for Lazio and playing in Serie A at a 12.5 million price tag, which I'm surprised he is not the most expensive player in Serie A fantasy. He could be considered potentially to be essential, despite me not currently having him in my team. I've tried thinking of ways to figure out a way to get him my team and still have everything else that I want. I have not been able to do that yet. It seems scary to not have him in my team. I'd say this is the Salah of Serie A over the last couple seasons, almost scoring every game. He's on penalties. He has good players to work around, whether that be Pedro, whether that be Milinkovic Savic or anyone else. And honestly, like, you can count on him for at least one return per game, if not more. So it is very hard not having him in my draft right now. I do want to try to figure out a way to get him in there, but based on the Lazio not having the perfect fixtures right now, he's currently not there, and I might be okay with that start. I'll just need to make sure that I have a good way to get him in if the Lazio fixtures pick up. So very much, if you have the space, I would recommend having Ciro Immobile in your squad, because he's an easy choice for captain if the fixture is good, and you can generally count on a good double points if that's the case. Okay, so he is probably, again, I'd be thinking that he's going to score the most fantasy points by the end of the season. It's just, is this price tag feasible for you and allows you to get everything else into your squad that you want? Next, we're going to have the most expensive player in Serie A fantasy, Romelu Lukaku. Inter is looking very strong again this year, and with Lukaku leading the way, you'd think that he will be scoring a lot of points. Questions still to be asked about what the striking situation is going to look at. Obviously, they didn't bring back Lukaku for him to sit on the bench, so I'm assuming he will be starting most games. Just how is it going to look with both Lateral Martinez and Eden Dzeko still in the squad, as well as Correa sticking around there currently as well. So just to figure out how that situation is going to look, will Martinez and Dzeko be alternating? Will one of them be sold shortly? Or will Dzeko start taking a backseat and only come in if needed as a sub or something like that? But we know that Lukaku still has got lots to give. He's a great striker, great poacher around the box, amazing shot, and he is the most expensive player for a reason. So if you can, honestly, if you can fit him in your budget, I'd probably still be going with Immobile at least to start, and have that 0.5 elsewhere, knowing that Immobile is almost just as, if not more reliable. But I don't think you can go wrong with having Lukaku in your squad as well. Victor Osimhen, a really good striker that I had my squad a lot last year, and he did exceptional for me. Um, a little bit risky as he can be discipline prone, getting red cards sometimes, which obviously lead to suspensions and blanks in your fantasy squad. But if he can stay out of the nonsense, he is a great player to have on a good Napoli squad with great fixtures to start out the season. So currently, he's a player that I'm looking at to have in my squad, which is why I don't have the kind of space I want for Ciro Immobile. Um, doesn't have Insigne next to him anymore. He's come to where I'm from over in Canada and TFC. Um, so I don't know how that will impact his production, but it looks like he's done good in preseason so far. And I do think he'll be the starting striker for Napoli. I don't think anyone else has been brought in. I don't think Patania is going to be taking his spot so long as Osimhen's fit and ready to play. So Osimhen definitely a player I'm looking for the start of the season. Just like Mr. Tammy Abraham over here, he's probably the most consistent player for Roma, where we see Vertu, Pellegrini, um, and we'll see what happens with Dybala as being more inconsistent. Tammy Abraham has generally been consistent. Good preseason start so far and great Roma fixtures. So that's why in tandem right now I have the Abraham Osimhen striking duo rather than trying to get one of the top premium options in Ciro Immobile or Romelu Lukaku. So I'm kind of going for the tandem of the two and hoping they can outscore just having one of the big two. And big reason is fixtures right now. These players can find themselves out of my squads if either one of the top premium options picks up their fixtures and makes themselves a better option. And if they find that if Abraham starts hitting the Milans, Juves, Lazios, Fiorentina all in a row, might be time to take a break from Tammy Abraham and try out one of the other premium options instead. He does have the support of Dybala now, which opens up more opportunity for even more goals or someone to assist. And I do think he will be a great option to start out the season. So that is my list for forwards to look out for at the start of the season. Let me know what you think. Is there any other players in the lower price brackets that you think should be being looked at more? Do you agree or disagree with any of the options here? Who do you have in your squad to start of the season? Let me know in the comments and let's get some discussion going. I do have the league code in the description and in the description for all the other videos. So please start joining the league. Let's see if we can make it even bigger than last year. It was good support last year. Um, let's see if we can keep it going. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you probably in the next video, which will likely be what my draft looks like this far going into the start of August. Take care, and I'll see you next video.